So great leadership is about one thing: deliver extraordinary outcomes. That typically involves one decision about where to play. Successfully executing where to play involves hundreds of great decisions on execution.
Ready to go? Ara, I'm so excited for this, dude. I am probably one of the biggest nerds on your business that exists, which is probably one of the many reasons I'm single, no offense. But it's a pleasure to meet you, my friend, and I'm so excited for this.
Very grateful for the kind words, Harry. Big fan of your show. You interview and speak with a lot of great companies, great founders, great CEOs, so very much humbled to be included in such esteemed crew. So thank you.
That means a lot, my friend. But I think we're shaped often a lot by our childhoods. And, I remember when my mother told me that she had MS, it was a very impactful moment for me in terms of who I am. When you think back to your childhood, what was the most impactful moment to you in shaping who you are, do you think, Ara?
First of all, I'm very sorry to hear about your mom and her struggle. I do think a lot of people are often shaped by adversity. And so for me, for some context, so I'm Armenian American, but I was actually born in Iran. And I was born during the Iran-Iraq War. And so, to this day, my mom still shares the stories of how, while she was in the delivery room with me, the sirens would go off in the city as the city was about to be bombed. And so they'd have to rush her down into the bunker, into the bomb shelter at the hospital. And then when the sirens were off and everything was clear, they'd bring her back up. And I was actually born in that kind of environment. And of course, like, many people at the time, we ultimately, shortly thereafter, immigrated to the United States to get to chase and live the American dream. And like most immigrants at the time, you came here with no knowledge of the language, no jobs lined up. You really couldn't take any of your personal wealth. And so, I think about what my parents went through bringing 3 very young kids over to a new country, and then having to learn a new language, find a job, make ends meet, put food on the table, and ultimately do everything they can to give their kids the opportunity of pursuing and living the American dream. And like that weighs extremely heavily on me. That's an incredible responsibility that I'm very grateful that they went through that journey so that I could have the opportunities that I have today. And so, weighs very heavily on me to do all I can to in some way be worthy of that kind of sacrifice and adversity.
I love that. And it's funny, when I look at the 1,000 interviews I've done with some of the best entrepreneurs of our time, the biggest commonality amongst them is actually, the majority moved in their childhood. You're forced to assimilate with different cultures, different environments, and reinvent yourself in many respects. And it's a big commonality in the best.
I was thinking about this the other day. It would be the equivalent of me today, giving up everything that I know, and then having to move to a country that, I've never been to, know very little about. I mean, just imagine like I have to move to Japan or China, and this at a time where you don't have, Google Translate on your phone, and there's no AI real-time translation service. And for me to have to figure out how to learn the language and, find a job, make ends meet, and provide for my kids, I mean, that is unconscionably hard. As hard as building and operating a startup is, I suspect that is significantly harder. So kudos to all the parents and individuals that made that journey and were successful at it.
Life is made up of big yeses and painful no's. When you think about the biggest yes that you got and the most painful no, what were they?
Probably the first customer yes that I got was incredibly consequential in my life. And then shortly after that, the first yes I got from an institutional investor was also incredibly consequential in my professional life.
Who was that investor?
Byron Deeter at Bessemer. There's actually a fascinating story behind it, maybe at some point.
Go on, no, I love a good story. How did it happen?
We were part of an accelerator in LA called Mucker Labs. which is also a phenomenal program. And the guys at Mucker have been so instrumental in our journey. And Byron's team was present at our demo day. And at the time, we were not necessarily convinced that we would ultimately take institutional money. We didn't understand the venture capital world. We had some of the typical stereotypes in our minds that, these guys might be sharks and they're after our business. And I mean, it was all completely unfounded. That was the illusion we were under. And so we participated in the demo day just to be able to show off, what we were working on. And Byron's team was in the audience, and Byron's team connected with us. And, ultimately they saw potential in what we were building. And so they offered to connect us with Byron. And even though we didn't want institutional money at the time, we knew Byron was like the best early stage investor in B2B SaaS. He had invested in Procore. Bessemer was also an investor in Toast, in Shopify, all these great companies that we were trying to mimic their journey. And so, of course, we jumped at the opportunity to get to talk to Byron Deeter. I remember his team set up a call, and I hop on the call with Byron, with my co-founder, Vahe. And Byron was probably in between meetings, and he's like, Ara, it's great to connect. Love to talk to you. We only got 20 minutes. Maybe the first 15 minutes, Byron, can ask questions about your business to learn more about ServiceTitan, and maybe the last 5 minutes, if you have any questions for me, feel free to ask me anything. I'm more than happy to be helpful. And I was like, fantastic. Byron asked one question. The first question, I don't remember what it was, probably about our go-to-market motion or something like that. And he's like, tell me, how does the go-to-market work in this industry? And so I explained to him how our go-to-market works. And then I just went in, I'm like, Byron, please tell me, how does Procore work? And how is it different for their enterprise segment versus their mid-market versus their SMB? And how does that compare to Toast? And tell me what's their model for customer success? And how do they comp these people? And how long is the implementation process? And tell me, when did they start building the next, product to be a multi-product company? And when did they decide to move into the next customer segment? And I just peppered him with so many questions. And shortly thereafter, I think we were an hour and 30 minutes into this conversation, and Byron's like, guys, I don't know where all the time went, but I have a board meeting starting in 2 minutes. I got to hop off, and I'd like to have another call so I can actually learn about your business this time. So that kicked off this relationship where we found him to be so insightful and helpful. And so after a series of conversations, it was clear we both wanted to partner, yet Vahe and I were still very, nervous and hesitant about what it means to take institutional capital. We're so focused on making sure our customers are successful, and, we didn't want our mission or our values or anything like that to change. And months later, I was heading up to the SaaSter conference, Jason Lemkin's conference. And on the flight with me was another founder in LA. And I asked this founder, because he had raised a lot of institutional capital from like a lot of the best names in the industry. And I asked him, I said, look, I have this opportunity. I have this offer from one of the best investors. I don't want to say who it is. Can you share with me your experience taking institutional capital? And, would you recommend I do it too? And my good friend told me on that plane ride, he's like, look, I know a lot about your business. You built a great business. I think it's a special business. I would not take institutional capital because you risk a lot of things changing that you otherwise might not want changed, and you guys don't need it. And so my mind was kind of set that I wasn't going to go into this partnership. At SaaSter, my friend and I kind of got split off at one of the conferences. And then at lunch, I was talking to Byron's team because they were at the conference. And my friend happened to walk by, and he said hi to me, of course. And then it turns out he knew Byron's team, so he said hi to them too. And then he was like, wait, Ara, why are you talking to Bessemer? And then he put two and two together. He's like, hold on. Is it Byron that gave you that offer? And I didn't divulge it, but he kind of figured it out from the smile on my face. And then he just went completely red. And he pulled me aside. He's like, all right, I feel like I've done the biggest disservice to you one could do. If this is Byron Deeter, this is the one person you have to partner with. He's the best B2B SaaS early stage investor. He's an extraordinary human being. He's so aligned with your values. He will help you build a great company, and you will end up doing it the right way, in a way you can be proud of. You got to partner with him. And I realized, I'm like, Byron is probably the same DNA as us. And so I texted Byron. I'm like, Byron, I'm in. And then he texts me back. He's like, where are you at right now? I told him I'm at SaaSter. He's like, I'm sending you an Uber. Hop in. I hop in the Uber. Takes me to his house. We celebrate, hug, handshake, etc. And he brings out the term sheet. And he's like, let's sign this now before you change your mind again. I'm like, look, Byron, I'm a man of my word. I said I'm in. That means I'm in. Before I sign anything, I want you and your team to come, do whatever conversations and diligence you want with my team. Make sure you're going in with your eyes wide open. There's no skeletons in the closet. And if at that point you still want to move forward, I'll sign happily. And so that's how we partnered. And, it's been a fascinating and amazing journey ever since. And everything has, exceeded even those fanciful expectations.
Dude, I told you at the beginning, I'm a nerd on your business. Like Byron and Jason Lemkin were like two of my heroes growing up. Most people have like, Pamela Anderson on your wall. I would have had like Byron Deeter and like, SaaS napkins on their wall. I told you, not normal. But I have to ask, when we look at a business like ServiceTitan, it looks all up and to the right. Did you have immediate product market fit? I'd just love to understand from those early conversations, from those early customers, was it always just up to the right?
No. Every success story looks like an overnight success story. I mean, look, everybody's talking about NVIDIA today, but NVIDIA was founded 30 years ago, right? Probably in, 93 or something like that. And for us, it was similar. The overnight success story, that overnight piece was like over a decade long. So I still remember our very first customer, what I mentioned about kind of the first yes. This individual, John Akoyan, today has one of the most successful plumbing companies in the country called Rooter Hero. A very large business. They do exceptional work for the community. But at the time, he was a much smaller business than he is today, but he was still one of the most, well-known plumbing companies. And we earned the opportunity to meet with him, and we shared with him what we had built, but this was very early on. So it was nowhere near ready. And we very transparently shared with John, here is our vision. This is the solution we intend to build. This is the ROI that we think this solution will deliver for you. This is the small piece we've already built. The rest we have to build. Will you go on this journey with us? And, we were shocked that he was like, heck yeah, this is exactly what I need in this business. I believe in you too. I'm in. And so he partnered with us, and that began, this journey where for the next probably 6 months, Vahe and I didn't sleep to build, kind of enough where we could successfully take him live. He goes live on our software. It runs his whole business, right? Everything. Marketing, scheduling, dispatching, inventory, payroll, integration with financial systems. Like everyone in his business uses ServiceTitan, and almost exclusively ServiceTitan, to do everything in the business. And so this is very mission critical stuff. And every day, Vahe and I wake up at 5 a.m., we drive over to John's office, and we fix all the problems that are being discovered real time. And this continues for another 6 months. Every day, keeping our fingers crossed, hoping that John doesn't just like bust in through the door and say, you two, take your crappy software and get the heck out of here. Thankfully, he never did that. He had the patience and the courage to stick with it. And in the end, we fixed all the issues. Software became extremely, extremely valuable to him. And
do you think that would be the same?
I highly doubt it. Anytime you're doing something new, going up market, going down market, building a new product, going into a new customer segment, you're going from residential to commercial, or you're going from, plumbing to roofing. I think the person leading the charge needs to be a maniac on a mission. Most businesses that have successfully done that kind of entry, it has typically been founder-led. Now, in some businesses, they have extraordinary talent, and there's some extraordinary star that has helped make that entry. But in most businesses that I've heard of, it's been founder led, and the feedback loops are much faster. The agility is much faster. And when the CEO or the founder themselves build that kind of conviction in a market, in a product, of course, the organization is able to invest much more aggressively in getting it done.
Ara, I like you so much. Can you see my face is a little bit swollen here?
Yeah.
Do you know why? It's because on Monday I had my wisdom teeth out and we had our show. And I said to the dentist, don't give me anesthetic. If I have anesthetic, it's going to be numb. And if it's numb, I'm going to need to reschedule because I won't be able to talk. And he said, dude, you cannot have your wisdom teeth out without anesthetic. I said, fucking try me. And he fucking ripped my wisdom teeth out too without anesthetic.
Why?
And I just thought of that when you said about the maniac. I was like, yep. By the way, don't do that. For anyone listening, do not do that. It hurt a lot. But no, I think that's so interesting to hear. I'm so glad you said about kind of the going up market there, because it was one of my core questions, which is, you started in the, I don't know what you call it, kind of the mid-market, the 4 to 40 segment in terms of technicians before moving up market. What are your biggest lessons in terms of moving up market successfully and what it takes?
The first would be what I just said. Doing anything new in a business, I believe, needs to be, you need a maniac on a mission to lead the charge. The second I would say is anytime you're going into a new customer segment, in this case, up market, you got to realize that there are new and different customer needs that need to be discovered, really well and really quickly and solve for, business buying decisions. So this applies to all B2B software. It's ultimately all about ROI. The only reason a business spends any money on anything is because there is this expectation of I am going to get some very significant return in exchange for some, significantly less but still meaningful investment. Anything that we do with regards to building product, all of it, the whole thesis is that here is going to be the ROI case for the customer, and that ROI is driven by the ability to, improve their marketing by, 6%, or improve their selling close rate by 8%, or improve their average ticket by 4%, or whatever these things are. And we build the necessary product and the capabilities to drive those improvements to then drive the ROI.
To what extent is product marketing success ROI driven? You will get 80% more leads. You will save 70% of the dollars.
Completely.
Versus a story. Because what we're told is that people buy a story. They buy resonance. And actually everyone sells data and everyone sells ROI. And it's just not that exciting when every lead generator says, we'll generate 3 times more leads. We'll do X. So what? Sell me a story.
In our pitch, we lead with our founding story. There's a lot more credibility that it establishes, I think, behind anything we say following that. But the rest of the quote unquote pitch, the product demonstration, is all ROI. It literally starts with something like, for example, Harry, how many technicians do you have? Great, 10. Okay. What is their close rate on their visits? What is their average ticket? Okay, you have a 50% close rate. Your average ticket, I'm going to make this up. Your average ticket is $1,000. Our other customers have a 60% close rate and a $1,400 average ticket. And so if you are making, for example, $4 million a year in revenue, if we could help you get from 50 to 60% and from 1,000 to 1,400, we'll help you turn that 3 million euro revenue to 4.5 million in revenue. And that means you're going to take home an incremental, for example, 200,000 at the end of the year in profit. How does that sound to you? Right. And then the customer, of course, says, wow, that's life-changing. Now, our ROI is often even higher than that, or at least, what we propose to customers. And so then they want the product, and now they want to understand how the product works.
How did you think about pricing? Because when you can move the needle for a business by $1 million, $2 million, like a take on that would be optimal. How do you think about take versus per seat pricing and customers' willingness to have a take model?
In any product that we are building, we always envision the ROI case of roughly how much ROI do we think this can generate for the customer. And then depending on confidence rate in that ROI, we will then determine what percentage of that ROI we think, should be our fair share. And we're very transparent with customers about this. This is the ROI case behind the product we are pitching you and what you are signing up for. By the way, we are signing up for that ROI case because our only job is to make sure you see that ROI. And we tell them, if we make sure you see that ROI, you will renew, you will never cancel, you will refer customers to us, and it will give you conviction to buy all of our other pro products. And so this is all we're fixated on. We're going to help you get that ROI because then we're going to get all these financial benefits in return. And then we work with them to make sure they see that ROI.
What's your biggest advice to founders listening on successfully moving up in that way?
It's really hard to do. Very few software companies have successfully gone from down market to up market, and very few have gone from up market to down market. So it is just very hard to do. You have to have very high product velocity to quickly build the incremental needs to go up market.
What did you do to have that product velocity?
What really helps is that Vahe and I are both engineers. That really helps in a business because then as founders, you know roughly how long anything should take to get built. And so when you are contemplating what to build, okay, because there could be 10 different ways of solving any problem, and there could be 10 different problems you want to prioritize. You can quickly do the math on this problem will be, for example, high value, but incredibly hard to build. This other problem will be roughly the same amount of value, but much faster to solve. And in exploring the options for solving the problem, you can quickly figure out which one, I guess, relatively quick to build, but also is good enough as a long-term solution, or which one is like the perfect long-term solution. And so you can do this math really quickly and decide, these are the problems we're going to solve versus the others, and here's how we're going to solve them. Now, of course, when you're small and you're making all the decisions, that works really well. As you get bigger, and then, of course, you have a leader under you and you have great teams, they make the decisions, but you are able to add value in that conversation. And when you know a particular domain, you are able to hire much better leaders. So, we're incredibly thrilled with our CTO today. And I think, when you're talking to 100 different CTO candidates, it's very hard to figure out who's like the best. But I do think because Vahe and I are both engineers, it allows us to, hire better people.
You mentioned kind of that going up market, and when we look at the product suite that one has to choose from, you're a very premium option. I think my team, which are pretty rigorous in terms of diligence, found out that you're 3 times the price of competitors. You're going to say that's bullshit. Okay.
Easy.
Easy. How important?
Better, even more than that potentially.
How important is it to be viewed as the premium option? And what is your biggest lesson to founders who are the most expensive in a similar way?
You can't just choose to be premium. You can become the premium product by delivering something that is incredibly valuable. We didn't choose to be premium. What we chose is we want to make this buying decision of buying ServiceTitan such a no-brainer. And the way to do that is to make sure it imparts unconscionable amounts of ROI and value. When you build that much ROI into a product where it can make this like life-changing difference in a contracting business, you then automatically earn the label of premium. But it has to be commensurate with the value. We're not a clothing brand that just by putting, by sourcing cheap materials but putting a shiny logo on it, we can pretend we're premium. There has to be real quality and ROI behind everything we built to to earn the premium tag.
My question to you is, you mentioned the word brand there. I'm really interested in taking that back to Jason Lemkin earlier. Jason Lemkin says the beauty of vertical SaaS is the ability to build micro brands much earlier than people think. When did you start to see a micro brand emerge for ServiceTitan?
What does he mean exactly by a micro brand?
A micro brand, he means where customers go, oh, I've heard of ServiceTitan. Yeah, let's chat. Where there's a naming resonance, where you're not going, oh, let me tell you what we do. But because of the community, people know, their friends use it, and they're much more willing to engage.
I'm not a marketer, but I've spent quite some time thinking about branding. And so I'll share what I've thought about. In vertical software, especially I think in contracting, it's a very tight-knit community. Every contractor knows every other contractor. And what's really weird is like, I think because contractors have been so underserved by everyone else, as a result, they are so willing to help one another out, even direct competitors. A plumbing contractor, of course, knows a bunch of HVAC and electrical contractors because they have to refer work to one another. But even a plumbing contractor in LA will happily open their doors to another plumbing contractor who's struggling and invite them in and teach them everything they know about the business and help them become successful. I think there's a lot of like empathy and sympathy for the fellow contractor. And because of this, word spreads really quickly about any product or service that is beneficial and high ROI, everybody will find out about quickly. And anything that is like snake oil, everybody will find out about really quickly. And, that business will go out of business very quickly. And so, brand is ultimately the feeling customers get, okay? It's the feeling that they have about your company based on all the interactions that they've had with your company. And those interactions can be by virtue of using your product, by virtue of calling, technical support, by virtue of talking to their customer success manager, by virtue of interacting with your, online materials, etc. I think what we did very organically, but very fortunately, is because of our maniacal fixation on making sure contractors were successful on our product, the brand that resulted, the feeling that resulted about ServiceTitan is that ServiceTitan represents success for contractors. And by using ServiceTitan, you'll be more successful. But coincidentally, there's a big community around ServiceTitan. There's a, online group with like 10,000 contractors on it. And I see the posts in there. And I even see things like somebody posting, Mama, I made it, I'm on ServiceTitan. Like it has become this thing that to be on ServiceTitan is an indicator of success, which is brings me so much pride that we have earned that kind of validation from customers.
When we get back to the element on brand, did you see that have an impact on customer acquisition cost? Because there's the idea, as you said, everyone knows everyone, they all talk. Did you see, we don't need to spend on marketing because everyone just talks?
Absolutely. There's a very significant impact on customer acquisition costs and the efficiency of go-to-market motion, both in surfacing pipeline, getting a lot of inbound inquiries as a result, both through like direct referrals and just so much word of mouth that ultimately when a contractor is thinking about software, they decide to take a look at ServiceTitan. But then of course, in things like close rates, when there's high conviction in a product because you've heard so many good things, your close rates go up, but then also the willingness to pay, the ARPU goes up. And then the willingness to buy pro products goes up. People often ask me, why is customer success so important? For me, there are two reasons. The first has nothing to do with like financials. This business is very personal to me. I like to think like I'm a man of my word. And if I give my commitment to someone, I will move the world to honor it. And so when these hardworking, salt of the earth contractors who've built great companies and it's their livelihood and their name is on the door, their legacy is on the line, their families are on the line, man, I will do anything to make sure I deliver on my word and my commitment and make them successful. There's always a small but still meaningful chance that something can go wrong. Like even in those cases where it does, I don't care if it's my fault, my team's fault, the customer's fault, because, they weren't committed, they didn't prioritize it. It doesn't matter. Like, to us, there's a concept of extreme ownership. We have to make them successful. And so we will do everything it takes to make them successful. So that's like the personal reason why it's so important to me. After having done this for now over a decade, what I have seen is that the financial rewards of doing this are so high. It is why we get so many inbound leads. It is why our close rates are so high. It is why, going back to your point, why are we, you said, 3x or whatever X more expensive than competitors? Why do customers then trust us to buy pro products? Why do we get pulled into new markets as a result? It is because of this fixation on making sure the customer sees ROI, which we call quote unquote customer success.
Does that mean you have a higher budget for CS than other teams?
Yes, but it doesn't cost all that much. It's not like we're profligate in our spending or our investment in customer success. Maybe we invest a little bit more. But yeah, the customer success, by the way, doesn't happen just from customer success teams. There's only so much a customer success manager can do if the product isn't good enough. Like, how many workarounds is a CSM going to advise each customer on if the product doesn't solve the workflow needs? Or even if the product solves all the workflows, but those workflows are just workflows that don't have ROI associated with them. There's nothing a CSM could do to generate ROI. This idea of customer success, of course, is very significantly influenced by CSMs, but it is equally, if not, frankly, much more significantly impacted by the product itself. You have to be in an industry where there's an opportunity to generate like incredible levels of ROI, and the product has to be built in a way to make that happen. If those two things aren't there, CSMs can't do anything about it.
There comes a time when you saturate the core market a little bit, and when you are unable to sustain the growth levels that you need with just one product. What are your biggest, you've mentioned pro products before in this call. What are your biggest lessons on when's the right time to do second and third products?
As soon as the product you are currently building has great product market fit, you have a high degree of success with customers that buy your current product, then I think you should absolutely, entertain the idea of building the next product. But the opportunity has to be there. Many companies have tried to be a multi-product company, and either in the new category that they're thinking about, there's already a great competitor that is hard.
Is that not too early? If you think product market fit is hard, running go-to-market sufficiently is hard, CSMs are hard, when you have product market fit, just double down, make sure that the train runs fast. If I say, hey, Ara, let's do a second product, you're like, what? Well, we need to do go to market super well for this product that's selling super well, and the CSMs are inundated because we have a lot of people now buying a second product.
None of these moments are like binary. It's you start with some level of investment in the second product, and then as you get traction, the investment level increases, and the same with your first product. So would I wait until I have product market fit on the first product? Go-to-market is like perfect. Implementation is perfect. Everything is perfect before starting to build the second product. I would risk being really late by doing that. Once we have product market fit, and for me, product market fit means you are really, the only way you can have real product market fit is if you are really good at understanding the purchasing process and the ROI case, and you have built the right product to support that ROI case. And if you have that, it means your pitch is good, which means you should have good close rates and ARPU. So it won't be perfect, but it's hard for me to imagine how you have product market fit without doing a good job marketing and selling the product. Those two things are so correlated.
One of the killer products that you did launch is the payments products and the financial products. Yeah. This is the hottest thing in SaaS, as you know, adding financial services to a SaaS business. But it took you 10 years and 1,000 customers, according to the team's research. Why did it take so long? And should you have done it earlier?
Yeah, I would say that was an example of us not seeing the opportunity to build a great payment solution. And we should have done it earlier. We had good product market fit. Now, the problem with our use case is that our product is so wide, so deep, 100% product market fit across the entire spectrum is very hard and takes a very long time to achieve. Like the vast majority of the product had great product market fit, and we should have started the payments journey earlier. We absolutely should have.
Is there anything else you should have done earlier?
Expanding into a new customer segment, like going up market, down market, going residential to commercial, going into a new trade. Most of those, I think we got the timing right. When we're being pulled into those markets, it's a lot easier than trying to brute force into those markets. We got pulled into garage door by a customer. We got pulled into roofing. We got pulled into commercial. So I think that the timing was right on those. On the product front, payments we should have done earlier. Maybe, one of the products we did too early. But the new contact center product, this is the perfect time.
Do you think you're a good CEO now?
There's a lot that I can do better. One of the things that has evolved a lot recently is like I tend to demand a lot of the people around me because I believe nobody knows the limits of our own potential. And I believe that the people around me are so gifted and can drive such impact that I want to help them realize that manifestation of themselves. Previously, I would doing it, the only way I knew, which was just demanding as much as I could. What I've since realized is what is both more like effective and doing my best to inspire them to achieve greatness.
Help me here, because I'm very, very demanding. We just joked about my intensity. I'm very demanding. And you know what it's led to? Honestly, Ara, it's created a culture of fear. People are genuinely scared, which I don't want. That makes me feel shit. How do I create that high intensity inspiration environment without having fear?
So I'll give you an example from literally yesterday. I was on a meeting with one of my product teams working on a new product that we're launching, and things are going really well. It's an amazing product, and we're going to launch it at our upcoming user conference, Pantheon. And so at the end of a great meeting, I asked the team, I'm like, we are ready to launch this at Pantheon, right? They're like, yep, absolutely. And I'm like, it's going to be stellar quality, right? Like, I want Apple level quality. And they're like, the quality is going to be great. But of course the quality will get better over time. Then they said Ara, you asked us to get this launched by Pantheon. And the prior version of me would have probably said something on the order of, hey, that's not good enough. We can't just launch on time. The quality has to be A+. We're not going to sacrifice quality just to get something launched on time, and you must do better, et cetera, et cetera. And organically, what I found myself saying is team, I understand we want to launch on time and with great quality. If I just wanted to launch anything on time without regard for quality, I would have brought in the B team, the C team, maybe even the D team. Anybody can launch anything on time without any regard to quality. But I brought in the A team, right? This is the A team, right? Then everybody, the reaction was smiles everywhere, happiness everywhere, and people rallying, be like, you got it, you bet, we're going to launch this on time, and it's going to be A+ quality, this product's going to kill it, et cetera, et cetera. I think you can drive an even better effect and an even better outcome. And like you said, feel a whole lot better about yourself, and the people around you feel a whole lot better about themselves if you demand excellence through inspiration over harsh words.
Ara, are you a perfectionist?
In the things that are important to me, yes. Yeah. Perfectionist about product, about metrics and driving the business by metrics. Perfectionist about, you mentioned the Loro Piana comment about fashion in certain ways about soccer and how I coach the kids' soccer team. Yeah, the things that are really important to me, perfectionist.
You sound like a bit of a micromanager. Pause.
Sure.
Jensen Huang is also. Jensen Huang has 61 direct reports, or 62, or whatever it is. Is micromanagement bad? And do you think that's a fair summarization?
It depends on the definition of micromanagement. It depends on what qualifies as micromanagement. For example, if micromanagement is I, as the CEO, make all the decisions, yeah, it's terrible. That means either I have an incredible team around me and I'm a complete idiot and have no idea how to give them the autonomy to make a whole bunch of great decisions because I can only make a finite number of decisions in any time period. Or it means the team around me is not good. In which case, I'm a terrible leader for hiring, building, and coaching a poor team. My job is to make sure I have a great team around me. So in both cases, I would have failed. But if by micromanager we mean I hire people who are much better experts than myself in their domains, yet I am engaged and I talk to them to understand what their priorities are, to make sure their priorities are linked to the company priorities, and I understand what their plan is for executing these priorities. And from time to time, I can offer them, an opinion that turns out to be a really good insight for how to get better outcomes. Like that to me is at least my idea of what good leaders do. I do not believe in micromanagement where the leaders make all the decisions, but I also don't believe in pass-through leadership.
Do you agree that great leadership is about one or two big decisions a year, or the many thousand that you make that are very small every day and every month?
Great leadership is about generating great outcomes, extraordinary outcomes. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. Okay. Now, in order to generate extraordinary outcomes, you most likely will make one, maybe two big decisions on quote unquote where to play. Okay. And that where to play could be we're going up market or we're going down market. It could be we're going roofing or we're going plumbing, or it could be we're building a contact center product versus we're building the online scheduling product. Now, to successfully so great leadership is about one thing: deliver extraordinary outcomes. That typically involves one decision about where to play. Successfully executing where to play involves hundreds of great decisions on execution.
The biggest strategic mistake that I made was I waited 6 years to go to video. I thought that actually people felt much less comfortable on video. I felt that they would close up more, and we didn't do YouTube for 6 years as a result. That was we have millions of subscribers, which I'm very grateful for, but not on video. And that was a costly mistake for me, which we've corrected and we've done it for years now. What was the most costly strategic mistake that you made as a leader?
Anytime you make a poor leadership hire, it is very costly for the business because the impact scales not just down throughout the entire organization that person leads, but it also starts to creep in laterally to all the other organization, and it can really threaten the functioning of a company. And so the lesson that we have learned from that is in the past where experience is very important, but in the past where we have kind of fixated only on experience, we have run the risk of hiring people who may have lived in these footsteps, but don't carry the same DNA of being a team player and not just operating from an ivory tower and being very involved in the trenches.
How quickly do you know?
You get the feeling immediately, within weeks. The challenge is acting and not hesitating always takes, at least for me, in the past, took months. And that is where the damage is done. And so what I've learned from that is that in every case I can recall now, in every case where there was doubt about an individual, that doubt has every single time proven to be justified and it turned out that that person was the wrong hire. It has never happened where, given an extra 6 months, 9 months, there's been some transformational turnaround where I've said, wow, I was really wrong about that person. And so now the philosophy is, when there is doubt, there is enough conviction.
The hard thing I find is very quickly, but to cut someone, especially a key exec hire, after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it's so harsh. You've got to at least look like you've given it more of a go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
As you said, you got to look like you gave them a chance. Probably 100% of the time, you're going to end up having given too much time. If there is doubt, there's enough conviction.
So final one before we do a quick fire, but we've got many mutual friends and all of them told me that you freaking love football, not soccer. Football, Ara. How does football impact your leadership style or show up in your leadership style?
There's a lot in common between how I think about ServiceTitan and how I think about, for example, football. Like I want to achieve extraordinary things. I want to make an extraordinary impact, both at ServiceTitan. When I play football or when I coach my kids' football team, football I see is like the most intellectually challenging sport there is, or at least the ones I'm aware of. Most people just see the flashy dribbles and assume that is what makes a great player. And it turns out it's like the complete opposite of all that. Football is very technical, but it is incredibly tactical. And you have to be a student of the sport to appreciate the tactical beauty. More than half the runs you see are like dummy runs. The runs are just designed to drag a defender out of position to create space for a teammate to run into. At least the football that I teach is a lot about things like doing rotations to create overloads in certain parts of the pitch. That is complete tactics to outnumber the opponent by doing those rotations. So I pursue football with kind of the similar philosophy as I pursue business. Of course, I want to win. The competitive part of me wants to win, but it's more than just winning. It's more than just being better than competitors. I want to improve all the time in business and in football to get closer and closer to perfection. So when I coach the kids' team, it's winning is nice, but for me, it's not the winning. I want them to play in the most beautiful way possible.
Will the MLS sustain post-Messi?
Certainly right now it's all the rage with Messi here. The stadiums are filled, everybody's buying merchandise. But still, most real football fans here don't watch MLS. They watch European football. They watch their Premier League teams, their La Liga teams, their Serie A teams. They watch Champions League. Real football community doesn't really watch MLS. I don't watch MLS matches. None of my friends do. The coaches I coach with don't. The players don't. But for like those that are kind of new to the sport, I suspect there's significant viewership, but it'll probably take a hit after Messi.
Ara, I'm going to do a quick fire with you. So I'm going to say a short statement. You're going to give me your immediate thoughts. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I'm not good at this quick fire stuff, but I'll do my best.
What do you believe that most around you disbelieve?
The importance of customer success.
Who's the best board member you would most like to have but don't have?
There's a lot of people who have lived this journey before. For example, Tui or Toby at Shopify or Chris from Toast, who are so relevant to what we do in vertical SaaS. But then, of course, like people like Satya, etc., who I could learn so much from. There's a ton of people.
What have you changed your mind on in the last 12 months?
Where do you come up with these, man?
Dude, I've done 2,700 interviews over 10 years.
Jeez. I don't know.
No, all founders are like, oh, I don't like VCs. I spend too much time with VCs. I've done 2,100. Try me. Is venture what you thought it would be?
It has turned out to be way better than the scary tales that I had in my mind. Every firm that we partner with, they've been authentic, very much invested in our success. aligned with how we want to build a business that is both incredibly successful financially and the right way to build a business, and so helpful in the journey.
What do you know now that you wish you'd known when you started ServiceTitan?
I'm almost glad I didn't know how hard it would be, because there's a good chance I may not have done it, and then I'd really regret it. Now it's all sunk cost. Now I don't mind, but if that was ahead of me, it's like getting your wisdom teeth pulled out every day.
I think that's called marriage, but sure. Okay, you can call yourself up the night before your first child and say, Ara, you should know this. What would you tell yourself?
This too, parenthood is also incredibly hard, but I had no idea it would be this rewarding. Yeah, I'm very family oriented, and I always wanted to have kids and many kids, but even I couldn't imagine how rewarding it is to be able to cuddle with your kids and share the love, but also teach them about principles in life, teach them about friendship, teach them about, math or science, teach them about football, and to see them learn, and you get to do this every day, and you get that feedback loop every day of like them developing and growing, and also you making an impact in their lives, is the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
Do you believe in work-life balance?
Even if I did, it's so hard to even come close to that. I really like what I do. So because I like what I do, it's part of my work and it's a part of my life. It's just important that I'm also there for like my wife and kids, for the important moments. And yeah, we make it work. It's hard, but it's not impossible.
Penultimate one. This is a magic wand, okay? And you can get better with any aspect of leadership. What aspect would you most like to improve on with this magic wand?
If I could be even better at like assessing the real capability of a potential hire. That is so hard to do during an interview process. And of course, we invest a lot of time and effort to get like some level of a good percentage hit rate. But if I can magically be 100%, awesome.
It's the hardest thing, my friend. Aaron Levy said, if you do hiring well, you get 1 out of 2 right.
Yeah. So if I can get 2 out of 2, it'd be life-changing, company-changing.
Final one for you. You don't do many interviews, but people ask you a lot of questions. What question does no one ask you that people should ask you more?
Have you psychoanalyzed yourself, figure out what really motivates you? That I find to be one of the most fascinating topics, is understanding why people do or behave the way they do or make the decisions they make.
Have you done that on yourself?
A lot, yeah. Yeah.
What is your answer?
Enneagram and every other variation of that, achiever profile, and what is the vulnerability that makes me want to achieve so much? And is it this idea of I need to feel worthy enough? And okay, but then my question is, why do I have the need to feel worthy? And where does that come from? And whatever the answer to that is, where does that come from? And I just want to go like a million miles deep on this topic.
Do you feel worthy now?
Like I remember when I first started out, the milestone was like, I want to hit 100 million of ARR. And I thought, oh my God, how do you even get to 100 million? It's like impossible. On top of that, I realized early on, I'm like, look, if I get to 100 million, sure, that's great. But once I'm at 100 million, then the expectation is going to be, I got to get to 2 and I got to, keep doubling. And I'm like, it's hard enough to get to 100. How do you grow beyond that? We did it and we continue to grow beyond that. But the expectation is always there. You got to grow more. And whatever my next target is, even if it was 10 billion, I bet for, you mentioned Jensen, when he got 10 billion, the expectation is you got to grow beyond that. And when he gets to 100, you got to grow beyond that. So
are you not on the treadmill of always more?
Yeah. I call it the hamster wheel. This is the life we've chosen, and we're no stranger to adversity, or we gravitate towards challenges, and we do everything we can to scale those challenges and, find new glory. And we'll do that again and again.
Ara, you are a very special dude. Like, I can see why my friends say what they said about you, which was very atypical, to be honest. Normally it's like, oh, great person, you should meet him. But the level of platitudes was rare. And so thank you for doing this. I know you don't do many. I genuinely really appreciate it. And thank you.
I'm very flattered to hear that kind of feedback, and very grateful to be on the show. I hope I deserve it, and I hope I can earn it. So thank you again.